I outride insecurities.
I outride self-doubt.
I outride
negativity.
Homework.
Family problems.
Some problems you just can't run away from.
I outride anxiety.
The voices in my head.
Imposter syndrome.
But you can outride them.
I outride prediabetes.
I outride middle age.
Mood swings.
Stress.
Postpartum depression.
Worry.
Screen time.
Laziness.
Traffic. I outride external expectations.
Self-doubt.
Discrimination.
Ignorance.
Fear.
Substance abuse.
I outride ADHD.
What will you outride?
Hi, I'm Sky Delano, Executive Director of the nonprofit Outride, where our mission is to improve the lives of youth through cycling. Everyone who's had a relationship with bikes knows the power two wheels can bring. We're excited to be speaking with you today about the health benefits of cycling, particularly as it relates to youth, their cognitive, emotional health, and academic health, and why it's important to make cycling more accessible to all youth. We've invited Outride ambassadors Justin Williams and Crystal Haggard, as well as our Outride friend Payson McKelvin, to join the conversation. In case you didn't know, Justin is an 11-time national champion based out of Los Angeles. He founded Legion, an independent cycling team that stands out in the cycling world as diverse and a superstar role model to our Riding First focused youth. Crystal is an accomplished cyclist who's passionate about using cycling to provide opportunities and positive impact to others. She's also a mother, and so is already steeped intimately in the world of youth cycling, in addition to supporting Outride. Payson is a two-time professional mountain bike national champion from Austin, Texas, and host of the popular podcast, The Adventure Stash, where he has interviewed dozens of athletes. Given that, I'd like to hand it off to Payson to steer the conversation.
Thanks, Sky. Yeah, really happy to be here today. I know Justin very well, just getting to know Crystal a little bit, but yeah, my job here today is to kind of facilitate and discuss some of the ways that the bike has helped the three of us, and then also how Outride is helping youth in cycling all over the place. So I guess I'll start with you, Crystal. First of all, I know that you have a 2-year-old kiddo, and before we jump into your cycling experiences, I thought it'd be interesting to touch on what the bike has meant for your kiddo so far, whether he's on a little Strider bike or what that looks like for your family.
He just turned 8 this week. And yeah, he's in 2nd grade. So.
Oh my God. Wait, do you have 2 kiddos?
No, I just have 1. I can really only handle 1.
I don't know where I got number 2, but that makes way more sense, especially when we saw him walk by. I was like, that's a very mature 2-year-old.
Instead, he's just a very tiny 8-year-old.
Great. All right. Well, that makes a lot more sense now. Same question, just with new information. Talk to us about your 8-year-old and his bike experience.
He first started riding with us when he was 6 months old. We'd put him in a trailer and we would take him on his 2-hour nap. We'd do a 2-hour ride. And we did group rides with that thing. During Tour of California, we rode up to, for those who are familiar with the Angeles National Forest, there's Highway 2 is the big climb there. We rode up to Clear Creek and watched the race go by. So he kind of grew up in that thing. And it's just been a huge part of all of our lives. Luckily, he gets as much joy from the bike right now and always has as we do. So it's been pretty easy. But, those days where we all are kind of at each other or a little frustrated, we put him on the back of our bike, go for a ride, and it's all good. Right now we use, he has his own bike, but then we also use like a half wheeler. And the one that we use has 6 inches of travel in it. So we take him mountain biking with us and yeah, he'll ride up to like 45 miles on that thing. It's super fun.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Which especially right now during this time where we can't send him out on a play date or have a babysitter because of COVID. It's so nice to be able to bring him with us.
Yeah. That was something else I was going to bring up because one thing that so Outride's doing a lot of research in regards to what it means to be a young person right now and how the bike can positively impact their lives. And I'm curious, like you mentioned, COVID, especially right now, the research is telling us that kids are more stressed than ever right now. You sort of touched on the fact that when that's going on for your kiddo, a bike ride goes a really, really long way to making things easier and kind of putting him at ease. Is that a pretty regular, a pretty regular parenting tactic that you use?
For us, it has been when it was like normal life, and we'd ride to school every day. And it was cool because the days that we weren't too big of a hurry to do that and we'd take the car, it was always a fight. But then the days that we would get on the bike, he'd be really excited to go, and he'd have such a great attitude, and just like getting dressed was easier. And when he'd get there, he'd be like immediately more engaged with his classmates. And now it's sort of the same thing, but we're returning to home, and the mornings or the days that we don't get on the bike, he's like sitting in his little chair, like with just so much jittery energy. He like really can't focus. But then the days that we're able to get out there and kind of calm that, put his mind in that space, he's amazing. He can focus, and we all can. Yeah, for sure. Justin, I'm more familiar with your story, but I would love for you to talk some about what the bike has done for you, kind of talking bigger picture. One thing that Outride really touts, and I think we can all speak to, is how it just creates opportunities. Earlier on in your life, when you were a young little kiddo, what was the bike for you, and what did it evolve into?
No, cycling was a great escape for me. It put me in this place where I had somewhere to go and something to do that kind of helped me get away from a lot of the bad influences that were around me. It gave me a lot of perspective and really opened up my mind to bigger and better things, and not staying so focused on negativity, the negativity that was around me. Yeah. And Crystal, we talked some about what your experience has been as a parent in regards to the bike, but how about you personally? What has the bike meant to you, maybe as a young person, and then what did that evolve into? I always thought that I was really unathletic. That's kind of what I was told growing up. And when I was in my early 20s, I lived in a neighborhood that had no parking. So my roommates and I bought bikes, and it opened up something in me that I didn't know existed. And I found it to be this amazing equalizer, where it was like my super athletic best friend roommate who was 6'1" and played volleyball and basketball, and myself, who is much smaller. It was this equalizer. It was the first thing that I had tried that there's like a type of bike and a type of riding that meets everybody, no matter where they're at athletically, what their build is, like whether you're a sprinter or a climber or an endurance athlete or a crit racer. And I just felt so like I felt this incredible sense of opportunity, and like I'd finally found something that met me where I was, and that had no end in sight of what it could grow to be. Very quickly I got a job in a bike shop after that, and started doing local races, and ended up being able to ride my bike across the country, which kind of introduced me to the world of endurance riding. And it's just been a nonstop, it's been 15 years of opportunity and excitement and meeting the most interesting people and seeing the world and figuring out what I'm physically and mentally capable of. pretty
Yeah.
great.
I don't think that's spoken on enough. That's a fantastic point. Like, I grew up hyper athletic and hyper competitive, but cycling is this sport that is the great equalizer, right? It doesn't matter what you think you're good at. Like, cycling has a way of like giving you something to be proud of. And I think that where I grew up, it was football or basketball, right? When you grow up in these lower income areas, like there's not a ton of opportunities to explore other sports. And cycling can be and one of those things where you don't have to be the most athletic. You know, it's crazy. The work you put in the bike is really what you get out of it. And I think that is really cool for kids that didn't grow up being the most athletic.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing like y'all are saying, I mean, I really believe that bikes are for everyone. And it really doesn't matter what age either. I think that's one thing that's really cool is the same reasons that the three of us probably really enjoy going on group rides are the exact same reasons that Crystal, your kiddo, you know, probably likes to ride with his buddies now and then. It is such an equalizer. Justin and I actually have some shared interests off the bike too in regards to mainstream sports. We both grew up, you know, playing basketball, football, that sort of thing. And so we kind of relate in that regard. And one thing that I think was interesting that's part of my story is that I did these team sports, but they didn't necessarily grab me in a way where I really wanted to put a huge amount of work into them. I always just did it to kind of be with my friends in high school and middle school and that sort of thing. And when I discovered the bike and really wanted to be good at bike riding, for whatever reason, it just gave me this incredible focus and long-term goals that I really wanted to attack, to the point where I would go out and train by myself if it required it every single day after school. And it was just this kind of North Star, and has been the rest of my life. And Crystal, kind of like you touched on that excitement of seeing no end in sight in regards to the possibilities. I get really excited when I think about and learn about a program like Outride, because I remember that phase that these kids are in right now. They're in that discovery phase and they're figuring out what the bike can mean to them. And in a lot of ways, it's just this blank canvas. I think that's one thing that, Justin is really leaning into right now and doing in a unique, special way. And that's just creating the world that he wants to see in the cycling world. And Justin and I have spent lots of time talking, and I know you're a dreamer, Justin, and it's pretty cool to witness that and see where you're going with the bike. What is some of the stuff that you're working on, Justin, now? What are some of those long-term dreams that you want to continue pursuing?
I just want to create a space where people of all like shapes and sizes and colors feel welcomed, right? I think the biggest thing for me in cycling was the environment. So just changing that environment. And like you said, like a lot of kids that are young that are jumping on the bike and finding the bike for the first time, they're also finding themselves, right? They're growing as people. And I think having these really cool environments when they can step into, when they do decide, you know, if they want to race, and even if they don't want to race, if they want to do something else, cycling has this amazing kind of opportunity to create these like subcultures within the culture. And you can go do anything that you want to do. If it's gravel, if it's bike packing, if it's mountain biking, if it's criterium racing, it's the possibilities are endless. So it's such a cool, unique thing where, you know, there's a million different ways that you can go, but once you find that bike, you're on your way to starting the journey to finding yourself, right? And I think that's incredible. It's a part of what we are really trying to just help push and elevate.
Yeah. Same question to you, Crystal. What are your hopes and dreams look like in regards to the bike these days?
I, much like Justin, would love to see a world where cycling is I believe cycling is for everybody, and no matter your age, your size, your color, whatever, and working on removing barriers. It's a really intimidating sport to get into. There's just a lot of equipment barriers. I mean, right as I was hopping onto this call with you guys, I was typing out an email to a new coworker who was looking to get on a bike, and teaching her the difference between a $250 bike and a $2,500 bike, and why she should buy something she's going to grow into, because I truly believe that everybody is going to grow into it if they have the right equipment. So I think that that's one of the things that I love about doing work with Outride, is giving kids a way to have access to this equipment without the limitations of finances, without the technical limitations, without knowing what to go into a bike shop and ask for, and giving them that tool to start riding and to start unlocking all of that magic we all get to experience.
Yeah, to both of y'all, admittedly, I'm not as familiar with the nuts and bolts of how those bikes get in the hands of folks involved in the Outride program. What does that look like exactly? Who is receiving these bikes? What does that support look like? What does that education look like? Off the top of y'all's heads, I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit.
For me, I mean, what I've been involved with so far is like the idea is to get us in front of kids and tell our stories and try to really inspire and influence those kids to try it, right? And I think Specialized does a really good job of providing schools that that want to be a part of what Outride is doing with those equipments, right? I think it's more of a matter of time. If someone wants to be involved, it's just a matter of time before they get to it. Obviously, there's a process, but our job first and foremost is to get people even interested, right? And then Specialized comes in on the back end and really grants that support.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add there, Crystal, in that regard?
My role with Outride is very similar to Justin's, and I mean, as far as the process goes, we should let the Outride folks speak more to the different ways to get more kids on bikes and onboard schools. But when I was listening to Justin, it reminded me of right before COVID hit, we were actually talking about going to visit schools together with another coworker of mine, and how powerful it is to have, it's like if you get somebody like Justin, somebody like myself with such different experiences and different roles within the cycling world, how powerful that can be, that there is, there's something in both of us for anybody at these schools to look at and say hey, I kind of see myself in that. And so I think that's the role of us as Outride ambassadors, is to try to get these kids just excited about the opportunities that bikes can unlock.
Yeah, and let them know that it exists, right? It's not all old dudes that are out there doing this, right? It doesn't make it as appealing as they would think it does. It's just about putting a different face and a different perspective in front of these kids, that bike riding can be cool. I've talked to kids that don't even know people race bikes. You know what I mean? So
I didn't know that until I was 20.
Exactly.
I had no idea.
Exactly. So it's crazy how much someone's mind changes when they see me or my brother, and we're we race bikes professionally, and you'd be surprised to see how mind blown some of these kids are, where they've never seen a black guy that races a bike, let alone someone that's winning. So I think it's just, for what we do, it's just really important to lay that foundation of this is why you should be interested. This is why this is cool. This is a possibility for you for a future. And that's just that's the beginning. That's the best part.
Yeah. And one other thing I love about this program is that they get the chance to see successful high-level bike riders like the two of y'all. But for a lot of them, the way they're getting introduced to the bike is literally just transportation, and a way to feel good, and a way to feel the wind in your hair, and that incredible sensation of going through a corner. All of these things that the three of us at this point take for granted, really are exhilarated by. I mean, to this day, in my mind, there aren't many things that feel better than turning hard in one direction, and then that weightlessness as you turn hard in the other direction. Just at the most basic level, a bike just makes you feel really good. And I think it's just so wonderful.
It's freedom, man. It's freedom. It's what it is.
I think about like how we all use it in a lot of ways to kind of unlock something that makes you feel like a kid. And then also like how empowering it is to give these kids something that unlocks a sense of like autonomy and freedom, and it's kind of like a role reversal in such a healthy way.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's such a good point. I think that's a strong ender right there, Crystal. That was awfully insightful of you. And I think at this point, I'd love for Sky to jump back on and speak a little more to the nuts and bolts of what this program is doing, and how everyone listening, all the Sea Otter and bike fans in general that are tuned in, can be involved. So Sky, if you'd like to jump back in here, I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks so much. I really just so much enjoyed that conversation between you all, because I think just fundamentally what we're looking to do with Outride is really about creating and connecting folks to each other, building that community, and being able to provide kind of that foundational access and opportunity just at the front end. But Jen, can you imagine as a kid how amazing it would be to find out that you could get paid to ride a bike? Like to be like, oh my God. Like, so even just having access to folks like Justin and Crystal who come onto campus and meet our kids and talk to them about, their love for this and their passion and how that built out. And I just feel really fortunate for that Outride is partnering with folks like you, and really appreciate all that you're doing to support our kids, because that really is just kind of at the heart of what Outride is looking to accomplish. We have a really unique model. So as Payson mentioned at the beginning, and it was kind of alluded to, we have a research arm that actually looks at how cycling benefits the brain. There's something specific that happens that the scientists who work with our program can tell you in far more depth, and you can learn more on our website. We've got web videos and other links to that, but we look at the benefits of cycling on the brain specifically. We also have a program in our schools that it's called Riding for Focus. So we provide everything that these middle schoolers need. So there's bikes, there's helmets, there's a teaching curriculum, and we do the teacher training. And we are providing this opportunity for schools around the country to get middle schoolers out and riding. We are partnering with almost 200 schools with a reach of almost 50,000 kids in the US and Canada, supporting students as diverse as the tapestry of the country itself. So we're really proud of that. And we're still continuing to grow. If you know folks in your community who would like to have this program come to their school, you can find out more on our website. We also have something called the Outride Fund, which is bringing the power of philanthropy and community building to our local projects. Since its inception about a year ago, we've granted over $260,000 to different programs around the country through matching community grants. And we have committed to granting out another $500,000 again this year. Would love to grow it more and be able to do that. And honestly, with everything going on in the world right now, we believe that one of the best things that we could do is to bring Outride to more kids and all the benefits associated by cycling to communities around the US and beyond. Thanks to Specialized recent investment, we are going to be able to reach even more kids around the country. And over the next few years, we are focused on growing all of Outride's programs, so more Riding for Focus programs. We want to get investment so that we can grow our community grant program. We're looking to grow our partnership with other companies to just reach out and really be that bridge between communities and organizations. And then we're also just going to continue to deepen our research so that we can continue to improve our programming. For those of you who want to learn more, we'd love for you to go to our website, sign up to read our newsletter. You can also follow us on all social media tags. But we're really excited that you spent this time with us today. We're really looking forward to talking with you more. So Thank you all for your time.